What's up, everybody? You're back with me, Ian Kane. Huge welcome to this week's first installment of the week, actually, of DappRadar Meets. We've got another one later on in the week this week, which I'll fill you in about in a second. So the date today is Tuesday, April the 12th. And as always, a big hello to everybody, and thanks for showing up. So before we dive into the call for today, I've got a bit of an announcement to make, because we've got another call later on here on Discord for DappRadar community members and anybody interested in the future of DappRadar and what we're doing right now. So the community call is going to be the first one. We're going to do that today, 3 p.m. UTC here on Discord. And it's just one of the many efforts to improve the communication between ourselves, DappRadar, and our community. So at these monthly events, we'll present ongoing developments and we'll talk about our plans for right now and in the future. In addition, the community call gives everybody an opportunity to step on the stage and ask the team questions. So it's going to happen today, 12th of April, 3 p.m. UTC here on Discord. We've got Head of Product, Nick Rennie, Chief Design Officer, Dragos Danica, and CEO, Skemantas Janauskas. So it's all being moderated by me. So yeah, what we're going to talk about? We're going to talk about the voting of the Unclaimed Radar airdrop. We're going to talk about product updates, including pro features and the mobile application, which is forthcoming. And we're going to give an introduction into DappRadar bounties. So once again, today, Discord, 3 p.m. UTC, get yourselves there. Also, we'll be giving out popes at the end for all those of the community call session, for all those who get involved. So you can be part of the building process of DappRadar, and you can claim your pope to kind of to show off about that. So head into the general channel at the end of the session, and all will be revealed. Also, as I mentioned, this is the first of 2 of my AMAs this week. Actually 3 if you include the community call. So I've got Optimism Network here with me tomorrow. Same time again, 3 p.m. UTC. We're going to be discussing their DApp ecosystem and everything that's forthcoming and what's happened for them in the previous 12 months as well. So loads happening on Discord. Get involved. Right, so now over to the main event. Today, I'm excited to welcome the CMO, Chief Marketing Officer at Tiny World. Let's do a quick sound check. Do we have you, Adam? Tiny World is a play-to-earn game on BNB Chain that's making some noise right now. In the last 30 days, it's attracted just north of 8,000 unique active wallets and processed over 200,000 transactions, raking in around 40 million in volume thus far. It's a gamified finance DApp, I guess is the best way to describe it, but it does have quite a lot of play-to-earn elements, and the gaming side of it is pretty advanced in Tiny World. So in their staking and their kind of DeFi side of things, we've got a total value locked of over 75 million so far in Tiny World, and almost 10 million total in NFT trading volume.
The aim is to create a community-led gaming platform that enables the user base to actively have a say in how financial decisions are made in Tiny World. So we know the community is core to any blockchain project. So we collect the majority of platform fees and 20% of the spent Tiny coin and divert them back into the Tiny DAO fund, which users can then vote. Tiny coin stakers can vote on how these Tiny DAO funds are used to promote growth and develop Tiny World in the best way possible. But yeah, Tiny World is the first everything tradable game, I think, that's on the market. So all platform assets can be traded for Binance US dollar stablecoin, which almost acts as the second token in our economy. You can trade on-chain assets like NFTs, but also off-chain assets like equipment from the games. And these can be sold in our dedicated marketplaces. So, you briefly touched on some of the stats, like we have over 75 million TVL in our 9 LPs. Our NFT sales have exceeded 9 million. But also we have off-chain sales. So our game is off-chain, Tiny Kingdom. And the off-chain sales has reached almost $3 million in less than 4 weeks, which is a substantial amount. So it's been a really great start, and we look forward to continue building and developing the project during 2022 and beyond.
Awesome, Adam. That was well rehearsed, my man. Well rehearsed. That was great. Very good. I'm in. I'm convinced. Let's talk some more. Let's carry on. So we got the big kind of top-down view of what's going on and the elements of the game. There's obviously quite a lot to the platform, and as you said at the start, it might be tiny by name, but I'm certainly getting the gist. It's not tiny by nature. Before we dive into those separate elements of the game, Adam, can we just go let's rewind slightly about yourself and the team around, because you mentioned that the team had been involved in some other projects. So firstly, can you just kind of give us a bit of a background on yourself? Like what's drawn you into this blockchain gaming world, or is this somewhere you've been already for a long time?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very fortunate to be in the position that I'm in. So I was an early adopter of play to earn gaming back in 2019, and I also was an early adopter of DeFi and NFTs. So, I was actually an active community member in the team's previous game, and I created some content for them, etc., and eventually landed a business development manager role with the team. And we were discussing the play to earn scene and sort of how DeFi and NFT would work with it. And GameFi had sort of just started exploding, and we came up with the idea for Tiny World. So Tiny World's actually been in development for around a year. So
Right.
we've taken it very slowly and made sure some GameFi projects come to the market too quickly. They have unsustainable game economies, and they have a massive hype, and then they crash. And this is not great for the community and the investors. So we're looking to build a Tiny World for long-term sustainable growth. So yeah, like I say, I've pretty much landed on my feet in this role. I'm very passionate about play to earn gaming, DeFi and NFT. And I've been in the space for a long time. I've worked with the team closely now for getting on for 2 years. So I'm very fortunate to be in this position and to work with such a great and experienced and talented team.
Nice, man. So what was the first, what you said you're an early adopter into the kind of play to earn side of things. What was your first experience with? Which game? Do you remember?
So I would say one of the first games that I touched on was EOS Knights and Chains Arena.
Oh,
So
nice.
I've been in the space for a long time, and I've
Yeah, when you
seen.
say EOS Knights, I'm like, okay, old school. Like I remember that. And it's still
Yeah, I
around.
mean, I've been around. I've been using DappRadar as well for around 3 or 4 years as well since its infancy. So I've got very good feelings with DappRadar anyway. But yeah, like I say, I've been around for a long time in this scene. And yeah, I'm very passionate about what we do here, and yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how far we can take this project.
Nice, man. So for you, thank you for the compliment about DappRadar. By the way, we don't pay Adam to say these things. It's all organic. So the game that you played first was obviously, let's just like break it down as to what that was and like what kind of excited you about it. And you've said that you're passionate about the industry that you're in. What's the kind of key thing that really keeps you interested here? Like for me, I find the side of like educating people about complex finance mechanics to be something really cool, that younger people are now far more savvy than I think perhaps you or I ever were about finance at that age. So what's the kind of driving motivation here? I mean, obviously there's gameplay, but is there a little hint of that as well? Is it about education and kind of bringing people more financial freedom?
Okay, so for me personally, I got involved with play to earn gaming initially just because I was a hardcore sort of mobile app player, and these were sort of pay to get up the leaderboard and stuff like that, but there was no sort of ownership of assets. So once I found play to earn gaming and saw that you could earn through ownership of assets, it was something that really sort of connected with me, and I just thought this is going to be absolutely huge and massive. Why should these big gaming studios charge you for the game, charge you for all the DLC, and then also charge you for in-game items? So this was something that really drove me. But for the team's idea of Tiny World is to create a community, a global gaming community, that is run by the community itself. We will do the development, etc. But we have our fund that collects a good portion of the fees in the platform and puts it straight back into Tiny World. We have 25% almost of our tokens that all go back into building the development of the game and the ecosystem and the community. So this is the sort of aim we're going for. We want to create a a gaming platform that's for everyone, that connects everyone from across the world into one tiny platform, which is why we called it Tiny World.
Easy peasy though, right? Like the whole idea that you've got, no problem, I would guess. So as again, we call it Tiny World, but it's obviously pretty big, and there's a lot to it as well. And again, is it so Tiny World is like the overarching brand here, right? And then below that we've got different elements. So there's Tiny Farm and Tiny Games. So let us talk about this a little bit and how, like, what people should expect to see if they jump into Tiny World for the first time.
Yeah, sure. So when you load up the web page, this will show you Tiny Farm. So like you said, Tiny World is has all of these, you know, unique features underneath it under the Tiny umbrella. So we have Tiny Farm, which is our DeFi ecosystem, where you will be able to mint and summon Tiny Hero NFTs. You can provide liquidity to any of our staking pools and earn Tiny Coin in return. And you can also stake NFTs to our NFT yield farming and earn Tiny Coin in return there also. We also have a really unique feature where, you know, we have a Tiny Coin Binance Coin LP, which already has a 15x multiplier for yields, you know, just to incentivize users staking their Tiny Coin. But also on this LP, you can stake one of our Tiny Hero NFTs and boost your returns by up to 100%. So, you know, this is something that's really quite unique, and we're always trying to implement new ways of using NFTs across the system. Now, you know, you may have played Mobox previously, and, you know, in Mobox, once you mint a NFT, a Momo over there, I suppose, it automatically gets staked to the NFT farming, and then you can use it also to play games. In Tiny World, we don't do that. So if you have the Tiny Hero NFT staked to NFT farming, you cannot then use that same hero to play the games. So again, this increases the amount of use case for NFTs, because people will need more NFTs to use the whole of the ecosystem. As you rightly said, we have Tiny Games as well. So our first game is called Tiny Kingdom. So this was released less than 4 weeks ago, and it is an idle style RPG. So the premise here is that it is an automatic battle process. You click a button, you can go off to the gym, you can go and have dinner, you can go and do whatever you like, and in the background, the game will continue to play. You'll continue to battle enemies, and at the end of the battle, when you decide to end it, either when your HP runs out or when you decide to click the button, you will gain assets. So in-game assets. These are materials that can be used to forge equipment. Now, as I said earlier, everything is tradable in Tiny World. Binance US dollars on the marketplace. So this is part of the play to earn mechanic as well. So not only can you earn Tiny Coin from leaderboard rewards, but you can also earn stable coin from trading peer-to-peer as well. So this is how Tiny World is set up, and that's what it will look like. Like I say, the whole Tiny Farm is on-chain, with NFTs, DeFi, etc., all of these transactions being on-chain. But Tiny Kingdom is off-chain. You know, we actually have 11,000 active users off-chain on Tiny Kingdom, which is amazing considering we released less than 4 weeks ago.
Yeah, for sure. That's pretty impressive, man. So you got Tiny Kingdom, which is the kind of idle game, as you say. So that's one for the people who just want to kind of grind it out and do not the least, but to do less. And then Tiny Dungeons, is that a bit more interactive? Is that a bit more playable, or is it a similar kind of setup over there?
Okay, so let me maybe just enhance what I've said about Tiny Kingdom. So yes, initially it's an idle style trading game. But we evolve our game, so we will implement a community boss raid feature, where users will all club together and take on a strong enemy, and we'll have leaderboards for essentially for damage contribution against the boss. So this will be a sort of a daily thing, and with a weekly leaderboard. We'll also implement a player versus player arena. So this system as well is very fair. You can only battle the 5 immediately above or below you in the table. So, and there's also skills that our tiny heroes can learn for the player versus player arena that will be here, in the second half of 2022. And we will also bring in pet NFTs as well, which will link into Tiny Kingdom. So we're always trying to create and innovate new products. As for Tiny Dungeons, this is a game that will probably be released towards the end of 2022 or the beginning of 2023. So Tiny Dungeons is essentially a simulation game with tower defense mechanism. But as you can see with our games, we try not to just have them two-dimensional. We try to, create engaging games that have many different styles of gameplay within them. And the really exciting thing about Tiny Dungeons is we will have an NFT Land pre-sale prior to the release. So this will be our first NFT Land that will be available in Tiny World. We're really looking forward to bringing that to the users later in the year or beginning of 2023.
Somewhere around that time. Let's not put any hard dates out there, right, Adam? It's dangerous. Dangerous stuff. Okay, so I'm getting the impression then, if you're going into NFT Land sales and that's coming later in the year, I mean, I don't want to go ahead too far, and we'll definitely come back and keep talking about the DeFi mechanics, but what's the bigger picture here then for Tiny World? Is not to keep it so tiny, right? Is to scale up into some sort of virtual world where with usefulness for the avatars, or can you reveal anything about that or the ideas?
Sure. I mean, we have so many options here. We know the metaverse is hot. We could potentially market it as the Tinyverse if we decided to go for the metaverse kind of thing. We need to scale up essentially. Our project is huge. The team is relative. It's not small, but we have around just over 20 core team members. We have moderators for languages support for around 10 different local languages as well. But yes, like I say, I think scalability for us is huge. We're already in the process of trying to recruit more talent, more heads behind the scene. We've had a decent amount of investment come through, so we're using that investment to scale up operations and also to scale up the team as well and make sure we got the right people in the right place. As I said, we have so many options. We've got the Tiny DAO, which we already have $2 million worth of assets in our Tiny DAO, which can be, tiny coin stakers will obtain VTINC, which is voting ISCROTINC, and they will be able to, vote on how these funds are spent. We have options to use these funds for TINC buyback or for, even gaining strategic partnerships. We're always working hard to try and promote Tiny World and give it the best sort of exposure. But we're very much, well within, we know we need to scale up the team and the operation side of things to, because we know we're going to grow bigger over the next couple of months. So this is something that is quite high on our priority list, yeah.
Nice. Okay, so the DAO, we mentioned it a couple of times, and I'm guessing this is, these are all part of the kind of incentivization to keep, a very important part of any play-to-earn game right now and in the past and in the future will be retaining players, right? Player retention is extremely high up on the list, I imagine, for you guys. So in order to achieve this, it's kind of achieved in an economic way, usually through staking or, as you've said, DAO participation, where you're receiving voting rights and things like that. How about in the game itself, like the actual mechanisms of the game? Because we always tend to talk about finance when we talk about these things, and we will go into that deeper in a moment. But how about the actual gameplay of this? Like, what's it set up for? Is it set up for people? People want to have a bit of fun as well. Do you think you guys are kind of achieving these two things hand in hand? Like you're providing a good level of fun and interest, but at the same time, some kind of financial kickback as well.
Yeah, for Tiny Kingdom as it is now, the game as it is now, it's very much in its basic state. You have the auto battle system, and you kind of have the trading. You gain these materials at the end of the battle, and you can use them to forge equipment. This equipment can be worn by your heroes to improve your stats, and as your stats improve, you will get better drop rates for the materials. So, of course, this constant growth, you need to continually grow your team. And then you might get lucky. You might be able to pull a really rare material that could sell for $100 or $200, and you can play to earn this way in Tiny Kingdom. Like I say, I think for me, the gameplay is as it stands, it's it's just idle. There's not a lot going on right now, but once we implement the player versus player arena, once we implement the community boss raid, we'll have an item recycle feature as well, which users will be able to burn assets from sort of equipments that they've made, and we can give tiny coin leaderboard prizes from the DAO. To help. We have so many different consumption mechanisms and consumption scenarios for in-game assets. So, we want to keep the price floor as high as possible to attract users and also to retain the users, as you said before, quite rightly. And the way we do this is we have, like I say, multiple consumption scenarios for the assets. So, we have in-game currency, which is crystals, and you need this to be able to upgrade and to progress. You have a limited inventory of items, so you can melt these items or materials down into crystals. So that's one of the first ways. Another way that a lot of the assets stop going on the market is the equipment upgrade system. So you need to consume 80 of the same equipment to upgrade your equipment to the highest level in the game. So again, this takes multiple different equipments off from being potentially sold on the market. We have a similar upgrade system for our NFTs as well, and I think about 75% of the NFTs that have been minted have actually been burned to upgrade other NFTs. Right. So yeah, like I say, the game economy, because we have a single token economy here in Tiny World, we need to ensure the game economy is really, really solid, and that's what took most of the development time up. That's why we've been developing the game for the ecosystem for so long. We need to make sure it's airtight. So we've put all of these mechanisms in. Once the community boss raids come out, we will implement a ticket system. So again, to gain tickets, you need to melt 5 of the same materials. Yeah. So all of these mechanics keep the materials and the equipments from going onto the market, keep the floor prices higher, more attractive for more users. And it helps with the price of Tiny Coin. We actually can value our assets against the stable coin, and this puts us at a huge advantage because then the leaderboard rewards for Tiny Coin are, of course, you can sort of see how much you're spending to what you're earning as well, and then of course you have the earnings that you get in Binance US dollars as well. So that is how the game economy works in Tiny Kingdom.
Because you're with Binance, and then people are able to cash out, as you've said, into BNB or into the stablecoin BUSB. Is that right? No, BUSD.
BUSD.
That's it. So, so the earning potential is pretty good and pretty fast as well. But obviously, you don't want people just to extract everything. But in regards to like entering the game and like getting involved, if I was to kind of head over there today, what are the kind of costs of getting involved? What's the kind of, well, I guess you'd call them barrier to entry? Like how much is the floor price of an NFT? Have you got any information on those things? Just give people a general idea about how much they would be spending to jump in, and then perhaps, this is a trickier question, but how much you could earn on a kind of daily basis through token rewards.
Yeah, I mean, let me just get the platform up so I can give sort of the best information. Sorry, could you just repeat the two-part question?
Yeah, it's like entry costs. So the first bit was really about the entry cost. So if you turned up today and you wanted to jump in and get involved, like how much would it cost to kind of do that? And just to be clear with everyone as well, because it's on BNB Chain, we've got really low transaction costs. So your in-game activity is super cheap. So cashing in, cashing out, trading and selling, buying and selling is relatively cheap. Yeah, what would we call it? The barrier to entry, I guess, Adam.
Yeah. Okay, so our floor price, the floor price of our lowest tier NFTs are $25 at the moment. So, and to play the game, you can play with one hero, but you have 3 different slots. So you can have up to 3 NFTs battling in Tiny Kingdom at once. So, if you wanted 3 of the lowest cost heroes, it will cost you about $75. Now, what we do have in Tiny Kingdom is we have got a free NFT that users can use once or twice just to see how the mechanics work or whether they want to join the game. But like I say, I think that the best way to use the platform and the most cost-effective way, rather than just buying outright from the market, if you have the funds to provide liquidity, you can provide liquidity to one of our pools. You can exchange your coins into Tinycoin, and you can take it to our Tinycoin Binance Coin pool, and you can earn over 550% APR. So if you have, say 10K to just stake, you will be able to earn a lot of Tinycoin passively, which you can use to mint Tiny Hero NFTs. These cost 100 Tinycoin each. So if you want to mint a new Tiny Hero NFT, it costs you 100 Tinycoin, which is currently priced at about $1.09. So, to mint a new Tiny Hero NFT, it is relatively expensive.
Okay.
But, we are actually working on a lending system,
I was
kind
going
of
to
similar
ask you,
to
that
NFTs.
was my next question about, is there like a guild or a way? Because I think that's very cool what you said about the freebie to kind of jump in and have a go. That's really cool to be able to have a go without spending a penny. I think is great. But yeah, sorry to interrupt, but yeah, the kind of lending and renting, is that something that's available?
Yeah, I mean, it's not available right now, but the team are working actually on two different lending mechanisms. So obviously a peer-to-peer lending, NFT lending, we're working on, and users will be able to lend their Tiny Hero NFT in return for Tinycoin. So it gives Tinycoin more utility. But also we want to attract guilds. I mean, we've been discussing about guilds behind the scenes,
Yeah.
and it's definitely something that we want to do. We want everyone to enjoy Tiny World. We don't want the barrier to entry to be really, really, really high. And like I say, guilds are a good way to get around this. If you can see from our communities in our Discord, we've been attracting users from places like Brazil and Indonesia and the Philippines and Vietnam, where the income is slightly lower. And we would really like to attract lots of users from these kind of places to come in and potentially have a lot of tiny scholars, running around with tiny managers managing them. We've also discussed, we have this tiny DAO, and it's a really exciting thing for us because, we could even potentially, rather than say going for an external guild like a YGG or something like this, we could actually potentially use the tiny DAO funds to create our own guilds. So we could recruit our own managers.
Yeah.
On a local basis, and all of the funds then continuously go back into the Tiny DAO. So it's only good for Tiny World. So this is something that is under consideration as well.
Okay.
But yes, like I say, the team are working on a second lending feature similar to Axie Infinity, where you can lend an account. You can deposit NFTs into this account and lend it for a manager to a scholar. And they can use that to then play to earn on the platform, whether that's from staking the NFTs or through play to earn in our games. So that's something that's really at the forefront of our minds. But until we have the lending mechanism in place, it's not something that's right around the corner.
Sure. Just a reminder to everyone, because we're talking about the tiny coin quite a bit at the moment. So just a reminder that for questions today, we've got some tiny coin up for grabs. So if anybody wants to earn themselves a bit of tiny coin, think of a decent question and I'll bring you on stage. Okay, cool. So we covered the kind of cost to entry, and it's very reasonable. And the fact that you've got the freebie, I think, is really cool as well, like a gameplay test, and guilds and other features coming in the future. But I completely understand what you're saying, Adam. Like, it's a case of you've kind of got to run before you got to walk before you can run, right? So all these ideas are always around because things are evolving so fast in the space. But it's probably the hardest thing to do is just to prioritize, right?
Or organize. You have so many ideas,
Yeah.
and sort of things that happen, and you have to be very reactive to it. So it's high pressure stuff, but I think we all thrive in the team under pressure. I actually really enjoy a bit of pressure. I think it brings out the best in me.
Nice. Wow, you're in the marketing department, my man. Like, there's some also in there with you. Kind of. That's how we work, right? We need that pressure to get things done. But so we've got Tiny World as the overarching brand, and we've got we've got a game there already. And then it to me, it sounds like you guys will expand out and create more mini games and kind of add-ons as things go along. So how will the tokens work? You said you've got a single token. So how will this function in a multi-game sort of platform, as it were? Will it be affected by that? If one game is not so good, will it affect the other games? How will that work? Or is that even going to be a thing, or will there be new tokens for new games?
I mean, we're trying to stick to a single token economy just because I feel there's many projects out there with a dual token economy or multi-token economy, and they spend so much time and resources on balancing the tokens and balancing the economy, and they forget what they actually are, you know, whether it's a gaming project or whatever. So, you know, with the single token economy, you know, we've had to implement really strong tokenomics just to protect against inflation. So, for instance, if you provide liquidity into one of our pools, you will earn Tinycoin in rewards. Now, if you provide Tinycoin liquidity to our Tinycoin Binance Coin pool, you get 100% of that Tinycoin. You can do whatever you like with it. You can sell it. You can use it in the games, etc. Now, if you earn yields from any of the other LPs, 60% of this Tinycoin is locked for 3 months and then released linearly over 6 months. Yes. But the really good thing is this locked Tinycoin can still be used to mint Tiny Hero NFTs.
Oh, nice.
And, you know, what we're seeing is a lot of this locked Tinycoin, rather than people waiting for it, they're actually using it to mint NFTs, which is why we implemented it in the first place.
Yes.
You know, there's so much to do with the tokenomics. We have a burn mechanism for Tinycoin, so 80% of the Tinycoin spent minting Tiny Hero NFTs burn. Okay, and then we have a maximum burn cap of 50%. So, you know, this will help protect us against inflation. It will cause Tinycoin to be deflationary. But, you know, like I said, we have 1 billion tokens overall. So 500 million tokens will be the maximum amount that we can burn.
Okay.
Now, even with the core team members portion, which is 15%, and the investor portion, which is around 8%, you know, we've put lockup periods in these as well before the tokens start vesting to avoid dumps.
Yep, nice.
So, you know, the core teams portion is locked for 6 months and it vests over the next 4 years after that. So that shows that, you know, the team are here for the long term as well. Like I say, the tokenomics have had to be really, really strong for us to survive and keep, you know, like I say, it works hand in hand with the game economy, with, you know, the asset consumption, whether that's the NFTs being consumed to upgrade. As I said, that's about 75% of the NFTs that have been minted so far have been burned to upgrade. Yeah, like I say, we're always monitoring the data and making sure that it's working. But, you know, we want to get Tinycoin into people's hands as much as possible. That's why we opened a syrup pool on PancakeSwap recently. You know, we will obviously as well implement different ways and use cases for Tinycoin. I mentioned the peer-to-peer lending, but we will also have more use cases for Tinycoin in the future as well. In terms of in different games, Tinycoin is, you know, it's the game token. So again, even when we release Tiny Dungeons, there will be ways to use Tinycoin in Tiny Dungeons as well. It might be slightly different to Tiny Kingdom. But yeah, we want utility to be high for Tinycoin. But again, like I say, you can stake as well into the Tiny DAO. So you stake Tinycoin into the Tiny DAO, where you can obtain a voting token or a governance token. We actually already have 350,000 Tinycoin staked into this pool as well. Whoosh. So yes, and then like I say, I mentioned the Tinycoin Binance Coin LP we have. We have $5 million worth of TVL in that pool alone. So considering the circulating supply of Tinycoin is just 7.6 million, you know, I would say around half of that is locked already, probably a little bit more.
Pretty impressive, man. That's okay. Nice. In regards to the DAO, are there any votes open right now that are happening in regards to the project, or is there anything open, or is that still something that's kind of just early days there? Because you've not been around long, and I'm jumping ahead.
We've been moving so quickly. I mean, the Tiny DAO we released, we started it around 2.5 weeks ago.
Right. Okay.
So again, it's already collected $2 million worth of into the fund, which is split between obviously Binance US dollar and Tinycoin. So there's 300,000 Binance US dollars in there and 1.7 million Tinycoin in this fund. You know, there isn't actually any voting going on right now, but the team are developing this part of it.
Yeah.
And we hope that within the next few weeks that we'll have our first voting schedule out. So, like I say, we're bringing these things out, and we're constantly developing them all the time. You know, the team, they work such long hours, and you know, they're so talented. It gives me great pleasure to be able to, you know, explain how it all works to you guys.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think number one, the reason we do these sessions is that everything in this world is quite complicated. Let's be honest, and it does take some explanation and some breaking down. And I think that's why at the beginning I was saying that I like the idea of gamified finance, because it kind of does it intuitively. And that kind of leads me into the question about the DeFi mechanics of Tiny World. Are you guys like, because I haven't played it, I'll admit that. Are you guys looking at a more DeFi centric way of describing things? Like we've seen in other games where they call the marketplace the tavern, and it is an NFT marketplace, that's what it is. But to gamify it slightly more, they give it different names and things like that. Is that something that's there in Tiny World, or do you guys want to kind of really stick with the traditional names for things, you know, yield farming, things like this? Do you want to stick with those and just hope to educate people, or are you kind of going to put a tiny twist on it?
I think it's probably going to be a bit of both. So, you know, at the moment, you know, we've been attracting mainly blockchain users.
Yeah.
So sticking with market and marketplace and things like this is great. But, you know, our NFT, you know, minting NFTs, usually these are done through loot boxes or mystery boxes.
Right.
Well, in Tiny World, you know, we have summon runes. So they're like crystals that you can use to summon at the altar. You know, it's a fantasy world. So, you know, these tiny heroes don't just jump out of a box. You know, we thought about this and we thought, how are these tiny heroes being, you know, they're going to be summoned, aren't they, if it's a more of a magical fantasy world? So this is something that we've come up with. In terms of like NFT farming, currently, it's just, you know, you stake your NFT and you earn tiny coin yields in return. But the team is going to implement a little farming mini game for that as well, which will sort of explain how defined mechanics work. You know, you'll have your tiny heroes that you have staked to the farm. They'll go around collecting the crops and stuff from the farm, which they will then maybe trade to a merchant, and that's how the tiny coin is coming in. So this kind of visual explanation for people that may not understand the mechanics so well is something that we will definitely implement. I like how you said about, you know, I think you were mentioning DeFi Kingdoms about having the tavern.
Yeah.
You know, we're always trying to come up with different ways. I think something similar, like a bazaar or maybe even a pub or an inn. You know what I mean? 'Cause have you ever played these RPG games where, you know, they go to the inn and they have the jobs on the board, you know, and things like this. This could be more of a, I think, you know, maybe Tiny Hero NFTs, maybe they might hang out at the inn rather than in a marketplace, you know. So these things are all things that we're looking at. You know, we're working on a storyline as well, as it's an RPG, as it's a gaming platform. We want everything to you know, be really engaging for the users. We want to attract just game players as well, not just necessarily DeFi degens or play to earn gamers. We will release on iOS and Android platform, and you know, we want to make it as easy for the user to use as possible. You know, I've been creating tutorial videos to talk people through how to upgrade NFTs,
Nice.
you know, stake to DeFi and things like this. So we want to attract users with all different types of knowledge of blockchain, but gaming is at the heart of it, essentially. You know, I mean, idle style gameplay in Tiny Kingdom, maybe just idle, but also the game economy and sort of the trading part of it. If you can put it down, then great. But a lot of people spend hours searching the marketplace for bargains that they can flip, you know, and strategizing how they're going to improve their tiny heroes. You know, it all adds to the fun, you know, and that's what Tiny World is all about, essentially having fun with like-minded gamers.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's great. I think it's, like I said earlier, I think it's awesome that people are learning more about finance and financial independence and the ideas that should be taught at school, but I'm afraid are not. And you guys are kind of plugging a gap at the moment, I would say. But do you think that play to earn as a movement, or GameFi, or whatever you want to call it, I think it can be that on-ramp that we need in the crypto space to kind of break down those barriers and stop talking about crypto and start talking about gaming with an earning potential, for example? You know, do you think this can do that, or do you think it is just another summer of something like it was the summer of DeFi? Like, sorry, I'm not being negative about it. I don't think that's the case, but what do you think, man? Like, how do you see that as an on-ramp, like for your 50 for other people who are perhaps a little bit afraid of crypto, or they've got a salty taste from buying high and selling low? What do you think about that?
I mean, have you ever tried explaining NFTs to someone that doesn't really know?
Every day, man, every day.
Like, when I told my wife I spent $1,100 on an NFT, she was like, "What?
Say what?" Then you show her the picture, right? And you think it's all going to be forgiven once you turn your phone around and show the cool picture that you got, and then she gets even more angry.
I know. Tell me about it. Yeah, it was cold outside last night. But but yeah, I believe everyone knows gaming, right? Like, if you try and explain an NFT to someone, they're looking at you like, you know what? Same with DeFi and decentralized finance. You know, I believe it's amazing that you can control your own sort of finances and earn an passive income through just holding revenue, essentially. But trying to explain it to other people, it's very, very difficult. But gaming is something that, you know, non-blockchain users do anyway, you know, especially the mobile gaming scene, which is sort of where we are. You know, we're available on desktop, but we're also available on mobile as well. And we want to attract users from both desktop and the mobile as well. You know, I think, you know, there are many different ways that we can sort of attract users to blockchain, but I do believe gaming is one of the biggest. You know, I think a lot of users have started playing games on chains like Wax, and you know they have hundreds of thousands of users and things like this, because transactions are very quick and things like this. This is why we've built Tiny Kingdom off chain. So, you know, you don't pay any transaction fees off chain. Well, we do take a 5% tax from marketplace fees, but again, most of that goes back into the Tiny DAO. So, you know, the game is off chain. It doesn't cost you to make a transaction in the game. When you withdraw your funds back to Tiny Farm, then of course we'll take a $1, you know, $1 or one tiny coin transaction fee to put it back on chain. Yeah, like I say, I believe blockchain gaming is definitely one of the main drivers of new users to blockchain. You know, that's how I started. You know, the fact that you could pay to earn and actually earn a passive income through playing a game, it was just revolutionary for me.
It's crazy. I think the data backs you up, Adam, entirely. Like the last Q4 of 2021, we had 55, off the top of my head, I think it was 55% of all DApp usage was a blockchain game. Then in Q1 2022, it was 50.5, so just dropped by like 4%. Whereas you'd expect to see a bigger drop off given the kind of issues that have occurred in the first quarter of this year. We've seen tokens drop off, we've seen other things happening, but GameFi and Play to Earn seems to have held its momentum because I think it has that gaming element. If you know, you're trading, but you're also engaged and kind of being, what's the word, not conditioned, but you enjoy the game, you enjoy the process of what you're doing. You mentioned we haven't spoken about other networks yet, and again, I don't want to get like you're young and early, but the question probably has arisen a few times, like why BNB Chain, number one, and why and then is there any plans to expand to other networks or even to go the other direction like DeFi Kingdoms and launch your own network to kind of bring this whole thing in-house?
Yeah, I mean, we deliberated quite a long time on what chain we were going to release on, you know, being, you know, we do quite a few transactions on chain each day, and we expect that to, you know, to scale up as we grow. We didn't want huge gas fees, so obviously Ethereum was a bit of a no-no. Now, of course, on the flip side, you can have lower transaction fees, gas fees on, you know, layer 2 solutions, maybe like Polygon or and etc. But, you know, for me, I think the Binance Smart Chain ecosystem, or the BNB Chain now ecosystem, is it complements GameFi, and the fact that our games are off chain.
Yeah.
We're not doing loads and loads of transactions. Most of the transactions we do are off chain. So, the fact that they're not paying, because the transaction fees on BNB Chain are reasonable, aren't they? They're, sort of a few cents. But, if you do hundreds of thousands of them, it will start costing you. So that's why we made the game off chain. Yeah, I mean, like I say, I've sort of lost my train of thought there.
I was just about if there was any plans. So you've answered really well why you guys chose BNB Chain. I think it's a good ecosystem as well for gaming. I really agree there. And the DeFi, they had early doors. They really kind of put themselves in a pigeonhole of DeFi, and then towards the end of last year, we started seeing that shift towards play to earn. But I think that's a good shift to make at that time because they had all these DeFi users that were perhaps a little bit jaded or looking for something new. And then along comes play to earn and they're already in the Binance ecosystem. So they hopped in. So that makes sense to me completely. In terms of other chains.
In terms of other chains, of course, if once their ecosystems mature, grow larger, etc., then we have the potential to move across. For now, I think BNB Chain is great. It gives us great exposure. It puts us on the map. It's one of the most used blockchains for DeFi, as you said.
Yep.
And for play to earn gaming and NFTs as well, GameFi NFTs. It's really hot on the Binance Smart Chain. You have Mobox, you have Star Sharks.
Yeah.
It's very competitive, and we'll compete with these games, but we also want to work kind of collaboratively. We want to improve the ecosystem as a whole. We're not here to just take users off of other, solid projects. We're here to enhance the ecosystem as well. So yeah, we see, our competitors more as potential collaborators and potential, growth partners.
Yeah, I'd agree there as well. And it's again, if we talk about it from a kind of value perspective and an earning perspective, then are you really competing or are you just offering a service to users? And are users only looking for one type of yield farming on one token? It's highly unlikely, right? Like I know I'm an investor. We like to dip our toes into different areas. So the idea of using Tiny World, Mobox, and Star Sharks, that's cool. Like that gives me 3 options now on one chain. So I completely understand what you're saying about the collaborative nature of it. I mean, obviously there's going to be some competition there, but I think, again, you're still early. And I think that's really important as well. Like everybody who I'm talking to, they're all early, right? They might think that because you've worked in this space a while, you feel deep into it, but we're all early here still. And I think that's quite important just to lay out at the beginning. But how would we say that like Tiny World differs itself? Like if I'm going to put you next to somebody like Mobox, I mean, the NFT part of it, of not being able to use it, that was one thing. But just more generally, how would you put yourselves in a different bracket, or would you not?
We of course there are many great GameFi projects out there, but we want to create our own identity, and like I say, we're looking to connect people from all over the world through gaming, through enjoyable gaming and through, financial freedom. As I say, I think for me, Tiny World is idle style. So there's not, a lot of these GameFi projects, you might have a certain amount of battles that you can do. So you're limited still. You're paying this money or revenue to play a game, but sometimes you can't play the game because you haven't got enough energy or whatever. So there's still limitations, whereas in Tiny Kingdom there isn't that limitation. You can always log into the game, you can always play, you can always trade your assets peer to peer. So yeah, I think that's one of the things, but like I say, I think our Tiny now,
I think that's a really good one. That's a really big one. It's important that people can continue to carry on playing and get involved. Like they're not waiting around and potentially going and looking elsewhere. So that's a big one. That's very cool. Yeah, very cool.
It keeps them on the platform. I think it's a really, and the fact that it's idle, it's not, you're not constrained to it. I think every blockchain user is very busy.
Yes.
We got charts to check, we got APRs to monitor and stuff like this. So the fact that you can pick up a game, click a button, go and do whatever you like, and then come back to it and earn a few bob from selling it.
Yep.
I think this is a really, really good thing for us. But again, I know I've spoken a lot about the Tiny DAO, but I do believe our Tiny DAO is one of the biggest drivers of what we're doing here. You know, what other platform allows users to, you know, make financial decisions for that platform?
Yep.
You know, the VTink state holders will be able to vote on how these funds are used, you know, and there will be quite a wide array of how these funds can be used, you know, whether we want to potentially get a certain central exchange listing or strategic partner. These funds can be used for that. They can be used to bolster the economy if the economy is having a pretty tough time, you know. We're in the crypto space. Things can be quite volatile, you know. So we have the backup plan there of the Tiny DAO, which, you know, is almost like a safety net for us. We can use, when things are going well, it can be used to enhance the user experience and you know, give them a few more rewards. But it can also help the growth of Tiny World and the exposure that we're getting. You know, we've already had very good exposure. Like I say, we've got Syrup Pool on PancakeSwap. We've been on Binance Live. You know, we're doing all these AMAs with people such as yourselves and very good publications. So, you know, our strategy is just to get as much exposure as we possibly can.
No, well, it's the most important. There's a lot of, like you say, there's competition out there, but there's also a lot of users out there, and they are looking for opportunities. So that's exactly what this is. So, Adam, we're coming to the end of the session, and I just want to dive in a little bit. Two things. Number one, talk to us a little bit about the roadmap for the rest of the year, or you can keep it defined to like Q2, Q3, but what should people be looking out for? What are the big sort of landmark things that are going down in this year that we should be putting in our diaries?
Yeah, of course. So the team are constantly developing, especially with the game Tiny Kingdom. Like I say, this game will have it will have 3 different sort of updates run to it. So this is the first version of Tiny Kingdom. The team are working on a referral system, a quest system. So this quest system is another way to burn assets from the game marketplace. Essentially, what we do is we put tiny coin prizes up, grabs, and users will have to forge specific equipment. If they meet the criteria, they can then burn them and earn some tiny coin leaderboard rewards.
Nice.
You know, we're working on the asset lending, so this is a huge priority for us because we know that with guilds we can potentially, you know, scale. We can grow a lot very quickly through the help of guilds. So this is something that the team are really working hard on. We have just released a few new tiny heroes, some lower tier ones, but the team are also going to release some top tier tiny heroes, so the ultra rare tiny heroes, which won't be available in the mystery boxes. You won't be able to summon them. These will only be available in special auctions run through the platform, but they are the best NFTs that will be in Tiny World when they're released, and these are going to be really exciting as well. Of course, we're trying to, you know, bring users from you know, non-blockchain users. So we'll try and list on iOS and Android with the game mobile version, and the rest of Q2. Hopefully, we will have the voting system up for the Tiny DAO governance platform. So this is all Q2 stuff.
Nice.
Going into Q3, we will have the Tiny. Sorry, I forgot to mention the boss system as well. Obviously, the boss system for Tiny Kingdom will be here within the next few weeks as well. So very busy Q2 for us.
Wow.
Q3, we will implement Tiny Kingdom 3.0. So this will implement the player versus player arena and the tiny hero, the tiny pet systems and the tiny pet NFT system, which is again really exciting that we're continuous. I call it game evolution, you know, rather than just having a product and leaving it there and letting it do its thing. We constantly adapt it and add new ways to play and new ways to earn. And this helps retain users massively. You know, if you can retain users, you're going to grow, because we've also got so many different ways to attract users as well. So, you know, us and the team have really thought about how to, you know, not only attract users but retain them as well, and keep the money in Tiny World ecosystem.
Nice.
So then in Q4, as we spoke about previously, the Tiny Dungeons launch and the Tiny Dungeons Land pre-sale is scheduled for Q4. But yeah, I wouldn't go for a hard end of the year for Tiny Dungeons. If it is released before the end of the year, then the team will have done an amazing job. But it's a very, very big project we've got here. And, you know, like I say, I think one of the main important things that we do is that we scale up the team so that we are prepared for the inevitable growth that we're going to get.
Definitely, very cool, very cool. I've had a couple of questions just fly in, Adam. So I'm gonna ask these because I missed them in my inbox. So give me one sec. So we've got one question for Made After Death. Great name. Does the Tiny World team plan on becoming a gaming company like EA or Rockstar, almost move away from the blockchain and onto PlayStation, Xbox, PC indie games?
It's thank you for the question. I think the team has enough on their plate right now already with Tiny World. So to try and start competing with, you know, Blizzard, EA, and all of that good stuff, I think for now, I think the team are concentrating on building the play to earn blockchain game and building it. The main aim is to build a community, a gaming community. You know, like we're not here just to make quick profits or even to make profits. We want to see this grow and we want to see this develop and turn into a proper DAO, you know, that is run by the community for the community. So
like more important,
no, I don't do. Carry on.
I think it's kind of interesting as well that people do ask this question quite often, and personally I don't think a lot of you guys are even thinking in this way. Like, you don't want to become like them, you want to displace them.
They want to become us.
Yeah, exactly. The other way around, really. They're all looking at you.
Exactly.
And people are always asking if you're looking at them, and I'm thinking, hang on a minute, there's something gone wrong here. Why would you want to take some, like, really the evolution of gaming and asset ownership and take it right back to the old school way of delivering it? Like, that's not the ambition, is it? So
we're not here to make money, you know, like of course, like there is some money being made, but that's not the main aim of the team. You know, like the team have created play to earn blockchain games as hobbies,
yes,
you know, for 4 years, and Tiny World is the first project that they've had that, because it's so large, it needed investment, it needed proper planning and stuff like this. So, you know, it's the team's passion, and you know, we have a really, really passionate team here. You know, we work really long hours. Our poor families suffer, but you know, hopefully the hard work we've done, I think you can see by the results that we've had in the first month, has been electric.
Definitely.
You know, so I'm sure the hard work will pay off eventually.
Just thinking about what you said there about all our families suffering, and it gave me an idea that could be a whole nother, like, ask me anything season, right? Like, of all the sidekicks to us crazy people that work ridiculous hours and never see our family. Like, that could be a whole new section. Yeah. Ideas for the future.
Honestly, our families, they need more recognition for sure. So I always make sure to schedule at least one day every couple of weeks that I can spend some really good quality family time with the family. But they're really happy that I've, you know, found a role that I'm good at and that I'm passionate about. You know, I'm a career sort of manager, you know, so the fact that I've landed this, you know, huge role within a GameFi project, which is like my passion. Yeah. Just amazing, and it shows you that, you know, with a bit of hard work and tenacity, you know, you can go anywhere. So if any of you guys are out there and you want to get involved with the blockchain space, all I can suggest is put yourself out there and make sure that, you know, you're getting seen, because it can happen for you.
Absolutely, that's great advice, I think, Adam. And at this time more than any, there is a lot of people who want to kind of get into this space, and I think it reminds me of when I used to work in music, that you might have to do some things for free at the beginning to show your value and to show what you're all about. But in the longer term, you're going to end up in a good position, because, yeah, the space is crying out for decent people. And another reason we do these sessions, and it's happened today again, as always with you, Adam, is that people reveal themselves. Like, you've got the DApp, you know, you've got the game, but who's underneath that? Once you scratch off the veneer of the branding, who sits underneath it and who's driving the project? That's why I like to do these sessions, to introduce people to the real humans behind the scene and to understand their motivations as well. In my opinion, you can't fake passion. Like, you can try, but it doesn't really work. and you've got to be into this. And I personally congratulate you for getting into the space that you're passionate about, man, and like being able to channel your energy into something that you really care about. It's very cool. I've got another question from the same person, Made After Death. Good question. Do you plan on doing something with the NFTs no other play-to-earn game has already done? Big question.
Ooh. Our NFTs, GameFi NFTs, there's a few different ways you can utilize them. I mean, because our games are off chain, our NFTs on chain, they can be used in the DeFi and NFT farming. I suppose, NFT use cases for us is the main thing. And we could come up with some innovative new, NFT that something completely different, but it's quite risky as well, these sorts of things. If it doesn't work, then it can collapse the whole economy. So I think cautious optimism in terms of NFT development is something that we should be wary of. We already have our Tiny Hero NFTs, so these all have they have a hash power or a mining rate for NFT farming, and they all have game stats as well, for the games. Then we will also release pet NFTs, which will be, these will have skills that can be used in the player versus player arena. These pet NFTs will likely have traits, so our Tiny Hero NFTs don't have any traits or anything, like other NFTs you might see on the market, but these pet NFTs could certainly have traits. So they would look a little bit more like, your NFTs that you might find on OpenSea. And then, of course, we have Land NFT as well that will come later in the year. So we have all these different kinds of NFTs that we will have. But whether there'll be anything that is completely brand new that no one has seen before, we'll leave that up to the developers. But I think for me, I think with NFTs, if it's not broke, don't fix it. The GameFi NFTs, the way they work is super. And there's been a lot of volume traded on them. There's a lot of holders, across many different chains. So if it's not broke, don't fix it. If something happens to the market and makes some new NFTs come out, then maybe we'll roll with it. But I don't think we're going to be the pioneers, so to speak, of any new type of NFT.
I'm totally with you. Like, I think just from the questions, it's always interesting for me because people are hungry, right? They want more and more and more, and I think that's great, and it pushes us, as we said, we like a bit of pressure. That's very cool, but it is indicative of the space that the evolution needs to happen in like microseconds, right? So all I would say to everyone is just calm down a bit. These guys are quite fresh and new. They're working extremely hard. Rome was not built in a day, as we know. All right, man, I've got the last question for you, and then I will let you go about your day. So, on the Tiny World site, in the collection section, I see that the number of SSSR and SSR are limited. On the marketplace, there are no mint numbers for those rarities. Will there be any indication on what your SSSR and SSR NFT mint number, like 23 of 200 or number 1000 of 2000? The question makes sense.
I have a really easy answer for you. So you go back to the collection section on the My NFTs, and when you look at them, they actually have the number that has been minted out of the full amount.
There you go.
So I'm looking at the screen now, and I can see Boudica, we have 24 out of 200 SSSRs that have been minted so far.
Okay.
So only around 10% of all the SSSRs have been minted so far. So there's plenty of chances for you guys to get really lucky and pull one of these top tier NFTs. It costs around $100 to mint a Tiny Hero NFT. If you're lucky enough to pull one of these, the floor prices are around $6,000. So it can be really profitable if you get lucky.
Really lucrative, right? Okay, so good question from D. Arvis, and I think you've perhaps missed something, or is it possible that he's using it on mobile? Is there something there that you know about? Perhaps he's just not getting the same view or something like that, or is it just he's missing the information, not seeing it?
I mean, maybe I'll check the mobile because I'm using desktop,
you're using
of course.
desktop, right?
It may be a case that the mobile UI needs upgrading for that part. But yeah, all the information is there on the website. You can find it on the Tiny Farm landing page. Just go to Tiny Farm, My NFTs and Collections, and it will come up there.
Awesome. Final shouts for yourself, man. What's your best channels of communication? Are you a Discord kind of team? Are you a Telegram team? Where can people reach out to you? Where should they follow you? And yeah, what's the best channels for people to keep their eyes on?
Yeah. I mean, we have a Discord server. We do offer support for 11 local languages in our Discord server.
Nice.
We have a global Telegram group. We also have local Telegram groups in Chinese, Korean, Brazilian, Indonesian, Vietnamese.
Nice.
So, you can go and one of our mods there will look after you as well and support you. But we also around on Twitter as well. So we put quite a few stuff. We put quite a few articles on Medium and relay them to Twitter. And we like to retweet a lot of of the good stuff that's being said about Tiny World on Twitter. What I would say is probably join our Discord. There we have giveaways, events that we do. We're doing monthly community AMA sessions in our Discord server. We want to really engage with the community, and we've got such a great community already that has grown massively. We've got 30,000 Discord users, 35,000 Twitter followers. So we've grown absolutely huge. Discord is probably the best way to get any kind of support. Yes, like I say, follow all of our socials. We have Twitter, we have YouTube, we have Medium. I can get all the links for you for that if you like.
We'll put those into the general chat at the end so people know where to look. But yeah, so Twitter for the most up-to-date, relevant, what's popping every day. Discord to get support, I think, is the message there. But both as valid as each other, and all content and articles on Medium. And yeah, just keep an eye out for developments through the project. It's an exciting one and one to look at, I think. So that brings us to the end for today, Adam. So thank you so much for your time, man. Like, you've done a great job articulating the information. I know it's complicated, and we could probably talk for another 2 days about all the intricacies of the DeFi mechanics and all of the rest of it. But I think we've outlined the basics of what the project is and what it does and why people should be paying attention, I think, right now. So thanks again, man. I really appreciate your time. Maybe you want to give a shout out to the listeners?
Yeah, thank you for joining in, guys. Like I say, if any of you have any questions for the team, come over to our Discord. You can ask there. Either one of the mods or even the community members will help you out. Yeah, thanks for listening to me today, and sorry for the slight delay at the beginning.
All good.
And then obviously we will be giving away some tiny coins. So if you can obviously send me the winners, collect their addresses, their BEP20 addresses, and I can get them some tiny coins sent out today.
Nice. Yes, we'll sort that out. My colleague will be in touch, Adam, and we'll sort that out straight away afterwards. So again, thank you very much. I'm just going to wrap everything up and just again just point you towards this community call that we've got today. So this is the DappRadar community call. It's all about DappRadar. We don't have guests from any other Dapp project or anything happening today. It's just us. The core team will be there. It'll be Nick Rennie, Dragos Danica, and our CEO Skementis Janauskis. So we got 3 of the top boys at DappRadar on hand to answer all your questions about Radar, about the future of what we're doing and where we're going, and also about DappRadar bounties. So join us today at 3 p.m. UTC here on Discord with myself, Ian, again. And just lastly, thank you everybody for turning up today. I hope you've all learned something, and go and check out Tiny World and see what's going on over there. Again, thanks, Adam. I will catch you later. Take care, everybody, and hopefully...
yeah, thank you so much.
Good, man. And yeah, thanks again, everyone, and hopefully see you later on for the community call. Take it easy.